Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today's question is, can I analyze the case of Heidi Broussard and Magen Fieramusca? Just a reminder, I'm not diagnosing anybody in this video, only speculating about what could be happening in a situation like this. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and consider supporting me on Patreon. I will put the link to Patreon in the description for this video. First, I'll look at the background of this case, move to the timeline of the crime, then offer my analysis. Heidi Broussard was born on June 15, 1986, and lived in Lake Charles, Louisiana. When she was a teenager, she attended a church camp in Columbus, Texas, called the Texas Bible Institute. There she met another teenager named Magen Fieramusca. Magen was 6 months older than Heidi, having been born on January 13, 1986. Heidi and Magen were close friends, despite Magen being socially awkward and not fitting in with many of her peers. Magen tended to be possessive of Heidi in kind of a creepy way. The pair remained friends after leaving the church camp. Heidi worked at a casino in Lake Charles. There she met a man named Shane Carey. They became romantically involved and, in 2013, had a son. In 2014, the family moved to Austin, Texas, where they lived in an apartment on the 700 block of West William Cannon Drive. The relationship between Heidi and Shane was tumultuous. It was described as on again, off again. On several occasions, Heidi intended on leaving Shane permanently, but she kept coming back to him. In 2019, the couple once again ran into problems. This time, Heidi was going to move back to Louisiana and give up on the relationship forever. Her plans changed, however, after discovering that she was pregnant. As all this was happening, Magen was living in Houston, Texas, with her boyfriend, Christopher Green. The couple had a lot of difficulties in their relationship. In 2019, they broke up, but continued to live in the same house. Not long after Heidi told Magen that she was pregnant, Magen also claimed to be pregnant. This was surprising considering that Magen and Christopher were no longer together as a couple. However, Magen was very excited about the pregnancy. She told Heidi that she was due in late 2019, which was the same time when Heidi was due. The women even talked about the possibility of delivering on the same date. On November 16, 2019, Heidi gave birth to a daughter named Margot Carey. Magen had driven from Houston to the hospital in Austin to visit Heidi. She arrived prior to the delivery and held Heidi's hand as Heidi gave birth to Margot. Heidi and Shane gave Magen a key to their apartment to prevent Magen from having to drive back to Houston that same day. On December 6, 2019, 1.5 weeks after Heidi gave birth, Magen announced that she had given birth to a daughter as well. She named her daughter Luna, although she did not send photographs of Luna to anyone. Now moving to the timeline of the crime. On December 12, 2019, at 7:31 p.m., Heidi's boyfriend Shane reported her missing to the police. He also reported his daughter Margot missing. On December 13, Shane gave a formal statement to the police. Here is what he told them. On the morning of December 12, Heidi planned on taking their 6-year-old son to elementary school. Shane had to go to work that day, as usual. He worked for a moving company in North Austin. The last time Shane saw Heidi and Margot was at 6:30 a.m. He spoke to Heidi on the phone at 8:30 a.m. They talked about how she had dropped off their son at school, so Shane knew that Heidi completed this task. After Shane was done work, he drove back to the family apartment, arriving at 2:50 p.m. He noticed that Heidi's white 2012 Honda Fit was in the parking lot for the apartment complex. When Shane went to the front door of the apartment, he discovered it was unlocked. This was out of the ordinary. Shane looked around the apartment. Nothing appeared to be out of place, but Heidi and their newborn daughter were not there. Assuming that Heidi had taken their daughter to visit another apartment or had gone to the park, Shane did not worry. In order to pick up his son from after-school activities, Shane made his way to the elementary school, arriving at 5:50 p.m. He expected to see Heidi there, but she was not. 10 minutes later, Shane left the school and went back to the apartment. He checked Heidi's car and found that it was unlocked. Her purse was in the vehicle. Nothing appeared to be missing from the purse. Inside the apartment, he noticed that Heidi's cell phone and her keys were missing. All the items necessary to care for their newborn, like formula, the car seat, and diapers, were still inside the apartment. The police checked the video surveillance at the elementary school and saw that Heidi dropped off her son on December 12 at 8:12 a.m. The attention of the police soon turned to Magen. Shane had mentioned how Magen had a key to his apartment. Magen had told him that she would leave the key on the counter inside, but Shane and Heidi were never able to find the key. The police discovered that Magen drove a gray 2015 Nissan Versa. Video surveillance captured a vehicle matching that description, driving near the rear of Heidi's apartment complex on December 12 at 9:05 a.m. This is the same day that Heidi went missing. Also on December 12, a witness spotted someone who looked like Magen in a vehicle in the parking lot of the apartment complex. This woman greeted another woman who was carrying a newborn child. The woman with the newborn climbed into the rear seat and the vehicle departed. The police conducted surveillance on the house in Houston shared by Magen and her boyfriend Christopher. They noticed that Megan's Nissan Versa was parked behind the house as if she was trying to conceal it. On December 19, Christopher drove to a Target store in a black Nissan Armada SUV. The police watched him as he purchased baby clothes and baby formula. When Christopher exited the store, investigators approached him and asked him a few questions. Christopher explained how he had been in a romantic relationship with Magen since 2016. They broke up in March of 2019, but remained in the same house. Magen told him that she was pregnant, and he noticed her stomach grow during the course of the year. He did not see her without clothing, given the state of their relationship. Therefore, he never actually observed her bare stomach. Christopher assumed that Magen was telling the truth about being pregnant, and he believed that she had given birth. When investigators showed him a picture of Heidi's daughter Margot, Christopher said, "That's the baby at my house." At this point, the police were pretty confident that Magen had murdered Heidi and taken Heidi's daughter Margot to raise as her own. At 1:17 p.m., the police entered Megan's home without a warrant and confronted her. They were legally permitted to do this because of the emergent circumstances. Margot Carey was located safe in the house and was turned over to Child Protective Services. Magen claimed that the baby was hers. She gave birth on December 13, 2019, at a birthing center in a town just north of Houston. This was 7 days after the date she had given to other people. Magen had originally said that she gave birth on December 6. The details about the delivery had slipped from Megan's memory. She could not remember the name of the birthing center, and the only people present during the delivery were employees of that facility. The police found this incredibly difficult to believe. They waited for hours at Megan's house until they secured a search warrant. At this point, they looked in the trunk of Megan's Nissan Versa and found a duffel bag. In the bag was Heidi's body. Her cause of death was strangulation. The theory of the crime was fairly straightforward. Magen strangled Heidi with a dog leash sometime after Heidi entered Megan's Nissan Versa on December 12. Kidnapping Margot was the motive for the murder. The police concluded that Megan's boyfriend Christopher did not know anything about the crime and was not involved in any way. On February 22, 2023, 37-year-old Megan Fieramusca pleaded guilty to murder in accordance with a plea bargain. She received 55 years in prison. Magen will be eligible for parole after serving about half her sentence, and she received credit for 3 years served prior to her conviction. This means that Magen could be released in 26 years when she is 63 years old. Now moving to my analysis. Here are my thoughts on a few areas that stood out to me in this case. Item number 1. When Magen and Heidi first met at the church camp in Texas, Magen was a bit of an outsider. She didn't fit in with the other teenagers and would have been left out of many activities, if not for Heidi. For some reason, Heidi could tolerate Magen, even though the other attendees could not. Over time, Magen grew possessive of Heidi, like she was always with her at the church camp. One critical element of the educational program that the teenagers were exposed to is that they should abstain from sex until marriage. They were taught this behavior would bring them closer to God. If this message was accurate, then many of the teenagers were maintaining a long-distance relationship with the Almighty. Item number 2, were there any warning signs of Megan's treacherous behavior? Could this have been prevented? There were a few signs, but they were relatively insidious. For example, there was the possessive component to Megan's attitude toward Heidi. When Megan claimed that she gave birth, she didn't send photographs of her daughter to anyone. And Megan behaved in a bizarre fashion at the hospital when visiting Heidi. When Shane's father was handed Heidi's newborn daughter Margot, Megan interfered and asked to hold Margot because she had to leave. The other visitors were astonished that anyone would be so rude and insensitive as to interfere with a grandfather holding his granddaughter for the first time. After this boundary-crossing behavior, Megan left the hospital without saying goodbye. Despite these signs, there's really no way Heidi or anyone else could have predicted Megan's behavior. The signs could have pointed to any number of problems, most of which were non-homicidal. Item number 3. Before it became clear that Megan was the perpetrator, some of Heidi's friends were suspicious of Shane. When he was being interviewed by the media, he awkwardly laughed a few times. This led to the theory that he was not authentic. As it turns out, Shane was innocent. This is yet one more example of how there is no such thing as an incorrect emotional reaction when dealing with a stressful situation. Unusual emotional expressions do not indicate guilt. Item number 4. Non-family abduction of an infant is a rare crime, but there are studies on this topic. Here are the characteristics of a typical offender according to the research. The offender is usually a female between the ages of 14 and 48. She is of average height and overweight. Violent offenders tend to have a higher weight-to-height ratio than non-violent offenders. Perpetrators over the age of 31 are much more likely to use violence in the kidnapping. 75% of the time, the offender commits the crime to cement a relationship with a romantic partner. About 91% of the perpetrators fabricate a pregnancy as part of their crime. This makes sense because otherwise they would have difficulty explaining how they gained custody of an infant. 26% of offenders have a prior mental health history, and 33% use a mental health defense at trial. These defense efforts are almost always unsuccessful. They frequently include disorders like dissociative identity disorder and disorders involving delusions, like schizophrenia or bipolar disorder. Certain mental disorders are overrepresented among perpetrators with a mental health history, including schizophrenia, intellectual disability, and personality pathology. Antisocial, narcissistic, borderline, and histrionic personality traits are common. When looking at all the characteristics of a typical perpetrator, Megan lines up pretty well with the information reported in the research. Now moving to my final item, number 5. What do I think happened in this case? This is just a theory, my opinion. Years ago, many perpetrators intent on infant abduction would target hospitals, like they would try to kidnap an infant directly from the labor and delivery unit. This has become difficult due to increased security. Therefore, these days, more perpetrators target women outside the hospital. They may try to befriend a woman who is getting ready to have a baby. In Megan's case, she was already friends with Heidi. Megan was probably overjoyed when she heard that Heidi was pregnant, and she immediately decided to fake a pregnancy in preparation for the murder and kidnapping. Megan was going to make that baby hers, one way or the other. She was patient and kept up the criminal scheme for 9 months, which supports the theory that she was sadistic, self-centered, and had a sense of entitlement. Heidi had no idea that throughout her entire pregnancy, Megan was eagerly and gleefully looking forward to murder. From Megan's perspective, Heidi was just an object. The only value the friendship had was how it permitted Megan to get exactly what she wanted. Those are my thoughts on the case of Heidi Broussard and Megan Fieramusca. Please put any opinions and thoughts in the comment section. They always generate an interesting dialogue. As always, I hope you found my analysis of this topic to be informative. Thanks for watching.